My parents are here, and I can't wait for them to hear some of the things I'm going to say tonight. But before we get to that, let's just get to it. I love nuns. I do. I get so happy when I see nuns. And I know a lot of other people have the exact opposite reaction because they grew up Catholic and went to schools where nuns were mean. But I did not grow up in a Catholic household. I grew up in a musical theater household. So for the longest time, my only perception of nuns came from Nonsense, Sound of Music, and Sister Act. And that musical perception really got in my brain to the point where I seriously considered becoming a nun. And I know about all the hard stuff you have to do, the vow of chastity, vow of poverty, vow of obedience. It's hard. But the real deal breaker for me was I didn't think I was a good enough dancer. I move well, but I'm not a nun-level dancer. I'm an older member of Gen Z, which means I was born during the Clinton administration, but I know all the words to the Hannah Montana theme song, which is really the best of both worlds when you think about it. That was from my young people. But being an older member of Gen Z also means I have some strong opinions about the Toy Story movies. And my opinion is that we can't show these movies to children. We can't. They can have the first one, but the second and third one are too traumatic. And the fourth one really was not necessary, and I don't want kids growing up thinking if we have one good idea, we can profit off of it to infinity and beyond. No. But I'm the living proof that we cannot be showing these movies to children because the second movie came out when I was about 2, and now I am 24. And to this day, my parents' house is filled to the brim with stuffed animals that I physically cannot get rid of. And I've tried so many times. It's just that every time I try and get rid of them, I think of that sad Sarah McLachlan song from the second movie. Where they show you how Jessie got abandoned on the side of the road and how that toy trauma followed her for the rest of her toy life. So I would try and give an old Webkins to Goodwill, and I would just hear, when somebody loved me, everything was beautiful. And that's not fair. And I was just starting to get over that when in 2010, they came out with the third movie, which is all about Andy growing up and giving his toys away. And spoiler alert for a movie that came out 12 years ago. One of the very last scenes of the movie is Andy walking away from Woody and Buzz and the gang for the last time. And it cuts to Woody, who is crying, and he just goes, "So long, partner." And Pixar loves to play this little game. They really do. With the movie Up. With Up, they were like, "Hey, kids, you're going to watch a lifetime of love and loss in the first 10 minutes. Come on!" And I don't think it's Pixar's place to be putting these thoughts in kids' heads. At least with Monsters, Inc., they were like, oh, the monsters in your closet aren't that scary. It's just Billy Crystal. He hosted the Oscars. But with Toy Story, they're like, your toys have feelings, and they will remember it if you ever abandon them. Oh, you want to get rid of that old action figure? Well, it's voiced by America's dad, Tom Hanks, and he has the ability to experience grief. Your move, toddler. I've been apartment hunting recently, which is a nightmare. It's so bad. Just everyone is looking for an apartment right now. Rent is sky high, and these landlords do not care if you live or die. They don't give a shit. And there's no such thing as bargaining or being like, oh, there's another one I actually want to look at also. Because the second you even think that, you've lost the apartment. It's done. And I was getting pretty desperate for a little while, and quite frankly, I didn't like the person I became. At one point, a friend of mine messaged me, and she said, the police just knocked on our apartment door and told us there's going to be a raid next door, so we need to lock the door and stay away from the windows because there might be gunfire. And there's all sorts of big, scary trucks lining the street, and we have no idea what's going on. And I said, oh my God, that's so scary. Are you okay? Where do you live? Do you like your apartment? They're fine, by the way. There was no gunfire. And they're subletters, so they were no help at all. A friend of mine told me that she thinks I look like Santa Claus's new girlfriend. And the worst part is I can see where she's coming from. I have the green eyes, apple cheeks, and soft body of a woman that would live in the North Pole, with just enough sluttiness to be the new wife. Excuse me, new girlfriend. I'm just a Yuletide side piece. I spent a lot of the pandemic watching RuPaul's Drag Race for the very first time. Some Drag Race fans. I do feel the need to clarify that I wasn't avoiding it before. My roommate's always been an avid watcher, but pre-pandemic, he had plenty of opportunities to, go into the world and watch it with other actual gay people. So when that first lockdown hit and he realized he was stuck with my heterosexual ass, he was like, if you're going to call yourself an ally, you're going to watch Drag Race with me. Okay. And I'm a guest in this space. I am not an expert on drag. I'm not an arbiter on what drag is, but I still wanted to share the two main takeaways I got while watching the show. The first being that gender is really nothing more than a creative form of self-expression. There is no right or wrong way to do it. There's no limit to who can play with those boundaries. Yeah. The second thing I learned is I have a fat fucking vagina. Shout out to my parents who, again, are here tonight. And I came to this conclusion about my fat fucking vagina because a lot of the queens on the show are cisgendered queer men performing as cisgendered women. Not all of them, but a number of them. And when you are a cisgendered man, putting on a leotard or swimwear to appear as a cisgendered woman, there's some credits that don't transfer. So a lot of the queens will tuck. They'll just tuck all their junk back and just tape it back. And a point of pride for a lot of queens is having a really flat tuck, making it look like there's nothing there. So an insult that gets thrown around when someone does not have a flat tuck is, you have a meaty tuck. And I'm watching these queens, and I realize I don't have a penis, but I have a meatier tuck than a lot of these queens. So now I'm wondering, do I need to start tucking? Do I need to tape myself from belly to butthole? Do I need to flatten out my vagina and plug up 3 functions in the process? Because if that's what it means to be an ally, I will do it. You have to give me a heads up first so I can schedule a wax. I'll get a full Brazilian, but only for equality. Thank you guys so much. I'm Katie Mayo.